Left of the box. So over here, Tori, the lefty Canadian radical, wonderful person to follow on the hostile fart sauna. So she brought my attention to something that strikes a chord with me, hits me personally. So she's quote tweeting saying, "Oh, just to confront the 1%, why didn't anyone think of that before? ODSP is criminally low. Solidarity to this woman for advocating for better. The dodo in the pink shirt has more money than brains." And so ODSP's Ontario Disability Support Program, and it's people like me have to rely on on something that if you have to pay market rent with, it wouldn't even cover the entire rent of a one-bedroom apartment, which puts a lot of people who live on disability in precarious situations. We live in dire, dire poverty. And there's been a fight to just try to, can we please just get up to the poverty line? Like, we just want to be at the poverty line. We're not asking for luxuries. We just want to be able to pay for rent, groceries, medications, and things like internet, things that we need to get by on a day-to-day life. And so this is from here. So this person here is from Global News Canada. The snarled traffic has provoked some angry responses. So let's back up just one more spot here. So ODSP protests tying up traffic at College and Yonge in Toronto. Police standing by, no traffic going through north or south. That's Isabel Gamick. So she is a disability rights advocate and having a protest.
Please, I got lots of issues and you're just making it worse. So go away. No, we're not going to. What are you talking about compromise? You mean we won't give in to your demands. You want us to give in your demands. Well, no. When you keep repeating it, it's not a compromise. I've already said no. Take my answers. Why do you think you're going to try to convince me into some other answer? Why do you think you have the right to try to force me into agreeing with you? What gives you that right? You know?
Something else you'd like to offer instead?
Yeah, I would like you to stand here with a sign, grab a sign, stand here and hold up. You know, fight for the disabled and poor people. You know, don't fight for the 1% today.
We're all
You know,
asking.
no. But I ask you not to fight. Yeah, well, please. No, we're staying. You know what? No, we're not opening up 2 more lanes to keep one. We're blocking the whole thing here. If I had more people, we'd block that ourselves. No, we don't need you to talk again in a few minutes. See, this is intimidation tactic.
Now, this takes a lot of bravery to do, to snarl traffic like this. The sad thing is that doing something like this is the only time people with disabilities are seen, is when they become that much of an inconvenience. Because I've mentioned it on my channel plenty of times before. When we need to bring attention to our situations, people on disability, we can't just go on strike because we're already invisible. Nobody will see it. Like, what does going on strike do when we are already forced to be separate from a lot of the communities that we're in? Like, we're forced to not be able to participate in it because we live in such dire poverty that it isolates us. Like, poverty is a very isolating thing to live with. And so the only time that you can actually get seen and get heard is by inconveniencing, and that's all it is an inconvenience to some people in traffic. And you know, she's in a very dangerous position because she can't defend herself if somebody decides to get violent with her or in her face. And people who use wheelchairs often suffer from other people just coming up to them and pushing them out of the way, like using their wheelchair to push them out of the way. Because even if they're walking down the sidewalk and somebody in a wheelchair is going to slow down the sidewalk, they'll push them out of the way instead of walking around. Like, the amount of horror stories I've heard from people who use wheelchairs and how disrespected they are by the general public is disgusting. Because there's no difference between taking somebody's wheelchair and pushing them out of the way than if you were to go up to grab somebody, pick them up, and move them over. It is assault. And so this is one of those people who was upset over her blocking traffic.
That's you.
To the Ontario government, you should go after the corporations.
Oh yeah, that's you.
No, go after them.
Well, yeah, we're talking about 1%.
Yeah, go after the 1%.
Yeah, so point that she made, we're going after the 1%. The 1% are corporations and the government. The vast majority of people who represent us in office are in the 1%. It's very, very difficult to get into government without being rich. And I said it before, I'll say it again. The most underrepresented group in office are people living with poverty. Pretty much nobody makes it to provincial or federal level office if they live with poverty. It's just, I can't think of a single one.
Senators, not a government that's built on your powers, even though the government might be failing you.
The government, you know what, the only ones that get elected are the ones that are backed up by the corporations.
Go after the 1%ers. Find the people that are doing.
What he probably doesn't realize is he might be part of, if not the 1%, the 10%. A lot of people who live with a certain amount of money often complain about, like, why don't you go after this group, without realizing that they're often part of that group. Because the stories they're told about how they're being, more money being taken away from them, or how they're having to struggle a bit more, well, they can't possibly be part of the 10%. And I think a lot of them would actually be shocked to find out they are.
This against you, not the Ontario government or Canadian government.
The Ontario government is doing it.
So what are you doing? Don't incite riots. Go after the 1%ers.
This isn't a riot.
What is she supposed to do? Like, he's upset. Like, go after all these other people. How? She's trying to bring attention to the situation, to the cause. This is like the only way she can. Like, what is she supposed to do? Just write into a corporation and be like, yeah, can I come in and see you and talk about this and have a good heart-to-heart, tete-a-tete? It's not going to happen. Even with most government officials, like, even if you get in to see your MP or MPP, you can say all you want to them and they'll sit there and nod their head, and most often will treat you with, a little bit of, I wouldn't even say respect. It's just standard, not disrespect, I guess. But as soon as you walk out of the office, it was like you were never there.
Okay, go protest in front of Minto.
We're doing it right here. We're protesting right here. This is where we're protesting.
Go protest where I want you to protest, where I can't see you. Grand Theft Autobot on disability. We can't ask our boss for a raise or a few extra hours. A few extra hours of what? Being disabled? Yeah. Like, we are solely reliant on the charitability of the government, which is so bad. Like, the fact that we have to fight the government to say, can we please just have a poverty wage? That's it. We just want poverty. Like, to say it out loud and how ridiculous it is, and yet it is a thing. And there's so many people, like that guy on the street yelling at the woman in the wheelchair that she was blocking traffic. They just look down at us so much, those people. Those privileged people who don't have to live like this. And how dare you interrupt my life? But it's like, how else are we supposed to get ourselves heard? And that's the only time we'll be seen, is when we're inconvenienced. The rest of the time, we're just invisible. BKK, my sister was in a wheelchair her whole life, and I've been in more than a few arguments over people not respecting her personal space and autonomy.